Welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com for another North Carolina Tar Heels football commitment alert podcast. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, and joining me is our director of football recruiting and jack of all trades, Miss Deana King. And Deana, we are here to discuss big news. As you projected, North Carolina would close strong in filling out its class of 2024 with highly regarded wide receivers. The Tar Heels have picked up another one right now, four-star wide receiver Alex Taylor out of Grimsley High School in Greensboro, North Carolina. Tar Heel fans know about Grimsley. Everybody knows about Grimsley in the state of North Carolina. 6'3", 175 pounds, the number 241 player nationally in the Rivals 250, number 36 at his position, number 4 overall in the state of North Carolina. He chose the Tar Heels over Clemson, NC State, Virginia Tech, Penn State, and many others. So your thoughts on Alex Taylor popping for the Tar Heels?
We mentioned that everything was going to get rolling, especially in the wide receiver group. And, you know, the last podcast we had with Jordan Shipp, I stated that he was right at that point. He was probably the top get in the class, but with Alex Taylor committing, I have to go with Alex Taylor. He's the highest recruited kid in the state of North Carolina that's currently committed to North Carolina, that has committed to North Carolina. He's a top Rivals 250 wide receiver that had a lot of big offers. You know, you mentioned Clemson and Penn State as a couple of the big offers that he had. He has been on Carolina's radar for a long time. Seems like I've covered somebody from Grizzly for the last 8 years. You know, they've really put out some high quality football players and will continue so. But Taylor had a great year last year, helped Grimsley make it to the finals of the state 4A state championship. They got beat, but he did help them. I think he had over 1,000 yards receiving. So he's a big time threat, tall, lanky guy. You know, he will be one of the guys on the outside. So he's I said he was one of the guys that most fans that cover Carolina football recruiting wanted, and he gave them kind of a long wait, but he finally decided to make that decision on UNC.
You spent a lot of time talking about Grimsley. You've gone over to Grimsley a couple of times, and I remember when we were covering the Travis Shaw recruitment, you told me about Jamal Jarrett, and then you said, there's another one. There's this kid that can catch passes, young kid, Alex Taylor, keep an eye on him. And I believe he was at Showtime last year and really had a terrific performance. He looks to me like he's the kind of guy that they need to have in every class. You need to have that 6'3" kid that can stretch the field. You need to have that kid that you can throw the fade to in the end zone. You need to have that kid that, if you have the 7-yard dig route just to get a first down right at the sideline, he could turn, catch, and keep the ball and keep his foot in bounds and move the chains for you. It looks like Alex Taylor could check all those boxes.
He's a very confident player. I mean, I stress that because, I mean, he thinks he can score anytime he touches the ball. And you gotta have that mentality if you're going to play skill positions, and especially if you're going to play skill position in North Carolina. And Coach Lonnie Galloway was huge in this recruitment. You know, Galloway's home base is the Piedmont Triad, Greensboro area, because he's basically from that area in Rockingham County. So that's his home area, and he wants to dominate in that area. And he has done a really good job recruiting that area. And Alex basically said each year their relationship grew and got stronger. So, you can chalk this one up to Coach Galloway. Another one, we stress wide receivers. They were one after a bunch in this class, and they've got three now with Jordan Shipp, Keenan Jackson, and now Alex Taylor. They're in the hunt for a couple more, but
Yeah.
those three are really good, and they're all a little bit different. So
Well, they're only recruiting now. They're only recruiting two more kids in the class. Period. Jonathan Paler and Javarius Green, and we think they'll probably get one more, and that'll be it for the class. So I was going to ask you about the class. I was also going to ask you about the Lonnie Galloway factor. This wasn't a slam dunk from our vantage point up until here the last few days before the announcement. Was Lonnie Galloway maybe the tipping point here?
I think so. I mean, when you talk to all these kids, they really talk about the coaching staff and the relationships they built with them and the trust factor. You know, they all speak very highly of Coach Brown. They know what type of coach he is and what he's done, and he's in their corner. And then they talk about the wide receiver guys. They'll talk about Coach Galloway, and I've said it before. He's been in their shoes. He's been a star athlete. He's been through the recruiting process, and he's just like a older brother, a fatherly figure that these guys can just relate to really well. And so North Carolina is very lucky to have Lonnie Galloway as one of their main recruiters, because the kids can relate to him so good.
Well, it helps that they've sent four guys to the NFL in the last few years, too. And those have all been guys under Lonnie Galloway's wing. So, they're checking off the intangible boxes, but also the go get paid in the league box as well. So anything else on Alex Taylor?
Just that, he was in that large group official visit at the end of June, and he was one of three guys that stuck around after that official visit, left campus and come back a couple hours. All three of them were Tar Heels. I mean, I tried to tell people on our message board, we had some doubters, that thought these kids were, Jordan Shipp was going to go to Michigan, Malcolm Ziegler was going to South Carolina or Notre Dame, and then Alex Taylor to NC State, Clemson, Virginia Tech, Penn State. Those three were having such a good time, and it's I stressed on the board they were having it looked like they were home. They were hanging out with each other. They were picking, and Coach Brown was over there laughing and cutting up with them, and so they had a great time. And 3 for 3, so they all three committed to UNC.
All right, well, that's big time. Alex Taylor, 4-star wide receiver, Grimsley High School in Greensboro, 6'3", 175. The number 241 player in the Rivals 250. The number 36 overall player receivers loaded in this class nationally and in the state of North Carolina, and number 4 in the state of North Carolina. He is the latest member of the class of 2024, the 25th member to commit to Lonnie Galloway, Chip Lindsey, Mack Brown, and the Tar Heels. For Deana King, this is AJ. Thanks for stopping by.